Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Gifts of Life, Acts of Love, our Living Donor Recognition Ceremony. Before we get to the program, I wanted to do some brief housekeeping items. All attendees, if you would, please mute, but please test your speakers so you can hear the audio. Your camera will be off and your video will not be shown. Slides and videos will be shown during the program, so hopefully you're on your computer or your iPad. If you have questions, go down to the bottom and put them in the chat box, and we're happy to answer any questions. So good evening, everyone. I'm Howard Nathan, and I'm President and CEO of Gift of Life Donor Program. We're very excited for you to be a part of our Gift of Life family. To kick us off, for those of you who may not know about Gift of Life, we'd like to share a video that speaks to who Gift of Life is. Roll the tape.
I waited 2 years and 10 days. Then they called my house and I answered the phone and they explained that the donor was a young man who had been in a car accident. I just burst into tears.
For the 23 years that he was on this earth, by being an organ donor, he is still here and helping people.
It's a pretty shocking thing to know that your life or death is dependent upon getting an organ to live your life. The role of Gift of Life Donor Program is to make sure that every family who loses a loved one has the opportunity to say yes to organ and tissue donation. And in turn, what we do is match those organs with the most needy recipients to be able to save and enhance lives.
We were connected with Gift of Life when we learned that Anthony had really no hope of recovery. They shepherded us through the process of the preparation of getting to the operating room where we had our final moments with our son. A group of 20 of us gathered around my son in prayer as we watched him pass.
We're that bridge, if you will, between the death of somebody and their donation. Our transplant coordinators, our frontline staff are interacting with hospitals and families at their very worst times.
The scariest part of the organ transplantation process is the waiting. There were years where I wondered, why was I still alive? To suffer and to endure everything that I was going through. And my daughter was born. And I knew. Gift of Life is an amazing partner in the transplant journey that's dedicated themselves to making miracles happen.
They're your first cheerleaders. They're so encouraging and so loving. And you know, when you're going through some really hard stuff.
I never in a million years would have thought that I would be using my arms again because of a family that decided to participate in tissue donation. For me, the Gift of Life just means gratitude.
I lost my son because God was ready, but I said yes to organ donation. Knowing that my son was able to save 3 young men's lives, that makes me smile. So instead of me being in a dark place, I'm in a good place because I know what I did saved lives.
If it were you on the waiting list, if you had a chance to save your life by accepting a donated organ from someone else, if it was your child and they needed an organ to survive, would you accept an organ from someone else? If your answer is yes, then you have to put yourself on the registry. You have to do it.
Our vision at Gift of Life is that anyone who needs a transplant will get a transplant and not die waiting.
My name is Oni Kanai.
My name is Derek Fitzgerald.
My name is Arlinda Griffin.
My name is Stephanie Maria Tensi.
My name is Joe Pratt.
My name is Carrie Daly.
I'm Reverend James Burton. I received the Gift of Life.
And I received the Gift of Life.
Well, once again, good evening, everybody. And we wanted to acquaint you just briefly with Gift of Life Donor Program. Many of you may not have heard of us because your transplant center coordinated your transplant between your living donor and the recipient. We want to celebrate that tonight and celebrate the living donors that are present with us and all living donors throughout this country. But just a little bit about Gift of Life. We're a nonprofit organization. As you heard, we coordinate organ donation, tissue donation, and eye donation from people who've passed away. We're one of the oldest in the United States, established in 1974. We're currently the largest organ procurement organization in the US, and we cover the eastern half of Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, and Delaware. And there's 128 hospitals that refer us potential organ donors. There are 15 hospitals, one of which you went to for your transplant, your kidney or liver transplant, and there are 40 different organ programs. More than 53,000 organs have been coordinated for transplant through Gift of Life. And then again, these are from deceased donors, and over 2 million tissue allografts, such as bone, skin, and cornea grafts have been coordinated through Gift of Life. Now, the transplant centers are on this map, and you can point to the one that you're from. And we're very proud that we have no shortage of expertise of world-class experts in this area for kidney transplantation, liver transplants, heart, lung, and pancreas transplants. So you are all being in one of the best places that you could be in this country. And thanks to your living donor, hopefully everything is going well. Next slide. So Gift of Life, as I said, is on call 24 hours a day. We lead the discussions with families about donation. Hopefully people were already designated on the driver's license and made that decision. We coordinate the surgery of those and allocate the organs according to the national sharing guidelines. We provide bereavement aftercare for families of donors. We assist with the development of policies and procedures. And as I'll tell you about, we provide a lot of education both to the healthcare community and the public, and we want to get you involved too. Next slide. So we're very proud to say that for the past 13 years, we have the most generous community in the entire country. And these are some of the statistics, but each one of these numbers means a new life for someone. There were 619 organ donors in 2020 and 1,619 organ transplants from those donors. And so all those are special stories that hopefully those people are doing well. Next slide. This is the current waiting list, and I'm sure that when you were evaluated for your transplant, you knew that going on the list for deceased donor organs sometimes could be 3 to 5 year wait for a kidney transplant, which I'm sure is one of the reasons that you had a living donor. There are 106,000 people nationwide waiting for an organ, of which about 95,000 are kidney patients. Next slide. One other thing you may not know about, for those of you who come to the Philadelphia programs, there actually is a home away from home, like a Ronald McDonald House, called Gift of Life Family House. And if you live 25 miles away from Philadelphia and your center is here in Center City, your transplant center, you can stay here. It costs about $40 a night, and it's a room enough for 4 people. And it provides temporary lodging, meals, and supportive services. Next. One other thing I wanted to tell you about is the Transplant Pregnancy Registry International. It's a division of our Gift of Life Institute. And what it does is establish this registry and studies the outcomes of pregnancies of female organ recipients and those who fathered babies, pregnancies, who are male organ recipients. We've followed now about 2,900 recipients of kidney, liver, kidney, pancreas, heart, and they have participated in this study. And what we've done is we've published more than 400 papers that explain how, if someone wants to have a baby after transplant, how and what special precautions should happen. And so the pregnancy registry is at transplantpregnancyregistry.org for more information. Next slide. So I'm very, very pleased and proud to introduce a good friend, Jim Melwert. You may hear Jim's voice on KYW News Radio. He's the suburban bureau chief, often reporting first thing in the morning from the scene, wherever it might be. But what you may not know about Jim is that he is a living kidney donor himself. He donated one of his kidneys to his Aunt Jean in 2006 and is a proud member of what we call Team Philadelphia. And Gift of Life is a proud sponsor of Team Philadelphia at the Donate Life Transplant Games of America. This is a biannual Olympic-style event where transplant recipients and living donors, like everyone here today, compete in athletic events and participate in special programs. We at Gift of Life are very grateful that Jim is an advocate for organ and tissue donation. And please welcome our friend, Jim Melwert, to talk to you about his personal experiences. Jim?
Thanks. I'll talk a lot about getting involved with Gift of Life, but hopefully everyone on here will, and you will learn what an amazing person Howard is. Just an incredible person who's done incredible work to further transplantation. I mean, the guy has literally helped save thousands and thousands of lives through his work. For me, I was incredibly lucky back in 2001 to land a job in the KYW newsroom. I bounced around a bit, but I've pretty much been with KYW since then, on air since 2007. Currently, as Howard mentioned, the suburban bureau chief. And it's been an amazing ride with amazing coworkers who understand what an awesome responsibility it is to be KYW, pretty much a part of the fabric of Philadelphia. And as you mentioned, I'm a living donor. It's hard to believe that we're coming up on our 15-year anniversary in February. I gave a kidney to my Aunt Jean Del Muto, known to Team Philly as Aunt Jean. And through my job and through my donation, I've been lucky to get involved with Gift of Life, volunteering with them, being involved with them, being a part of this celebration. And it's one of my favorite things for a few reasons. First off, the love, the excitement, the connection between donors and recipients, which is an amazing bond that few people can understand. And it's been 15 years. I don't know how many years I've been part of this ceremony, but I don't take the honor for granted, as we've all gone through something similar, and I'm the one who gets to share my story. And also, one of the best parts of this is I get to talk to you, and it makes me think about when I donated. You know, a lot of memories can fade over 15 years. But when I think back, it's funny because I was modest when I first did it. And I was kind of like, oh yeah, I was a kidney donor. Now, man, I brag about it. I brag about it every chance I get. You realize, you know, as people hear your story, what it can do for them and how it can motivate them to, you know, maybe think that, oh, I guess I could do that. Or it's not, you know, doesn't really affect your life in a great way. So I don't miss an opportunity to tell people I'm a living donor. And my aunt and I are lucky. It's been nothing but full speed, no major issues. She had PKD, and she's been, you know, it's been amazing for her since. She may not forget a lot of those details, but sometimes I do. And events like this make me go back and relive those amazing months. And it was in the early mid 2000s. My Aunt Jean, who's my mom's sister, she got her diagnosis of PKD, but my story of how I became a donor goes back further than that. Like maybe some of you, maybe not, but maybe some of you, what I did for my donor, for my recipient, for my aunt, I also did for me. When I was 14 in 1989, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 3 months after his diagnosis, he died at the age of 47. 9 years later, July 24th, 1998, my sister, Betsy, was 27 years old on her way to work, Someone ran a stop sign, broadsided her, and she died. I was helpless with both of them. Fast forward to my aunt's diagnosis, when I learned that I could do something, that I could push back against death, and it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, it wasn't that simple, I guess, but and my mom was the initial candidate. She was ruled out. They have another sister, Aunt Gail. She was ruled out. They'd hoped that Jean was going to have a kidney before she started dialysis. That didn't happen. She had complications with her port. Nothing overly life-threatening, but as many people in this room now know all too well, dialysis is amazing. It's incredible. It's life-saving, but it's hard. It's hard on the patient. We didn't realize that going in, but we saw the effects on Jean. She's high energy. She's always cheering people up. She's always seeing the silver lining in things. But when things got rough for her, we saw it. And we saw the frustration, no matter how hard she tried to hide it. And her husband, my Uncle Lou, he was there for her, but it was tough. And 5 of us went down to Penn to get tested. All 5 of us were matches. I was lucky that I was the first one they called. I didn't hesitate. I said yes. One of the best decisions I ever made. I mean, how often do you hear someone who gets a serious diagnosis or they fight off a potentially deadly illness and say it changed their outlook on life, made them appreciate things more than they did before? Well, I got that, but I got it without going through the diagnosis or through the battle for my health or my life. And I joke with my family, I had the easy part. I was knocked out the whole time. It was my poor mom, had to sit in a waiting room hoping I'd be okay. I was asleep, piece of cake, right? But, so many details from the days, weeks, and months, they fade. But, you heard Howard mention the transplant games. And it seems like yesterday, but I guess it's been a while now, they started letting donors compete as well as recipients. My first transplant games were in Houston in 2014. And I remember leaving the games literally wondering how I'm going to go back to the real world, because the games are just this bubble where you're around people who have gone through transplantation. They've almost lost someone they've loved, or maybe they did lose someone they loved and they donated their organs, or they almost died, if not for someone's gift. So everyone understands what's really important and what isn't. And it's hard to leave. And a great memory from Cleveland, the transplant games in Cleveland in 2016, literally sat on the floor in the lobby of the Cleveland Convention Center for hours talking to 2 people I'd never met before. We were just sitting there talking. They were fairly recent or relatively recent, 1 kidney recipient, 1 donor. And just so many memories and so many emotions came rushing back. Again, the details that I'd kind of forgotten, but then talking to a donor recipient pair, we laughed about all the funny things, roaming the halls of Hupp's transplant floor, carrying my pee bag around. The drive home from the hospital, I had they give you a pillow to kind of hold on to. I didn't do laparoscopic. They actually opened me up. So I had the cut on my side and I'm holding the pillow. My uncle, we're supposed to take my aunt home, but he had to go back to the hospital. My aunt had a minor complication, drain wasn't clearing or something. So she couldn't be released when they thought she would. So he had to get stuff for her and then go back. And so he's driving us home and he's basically Mario Andretti behind the wheel. And I'm sitting there I can't say anything because I know he's upset because he has to go back to the hospital, but I'm just hugging my little pillow, just thinking, oh, every turn, every bump. But, those memories, just another one. Our surgery was February 26th. Easter was in April of that year. And so Aunt Jean, our surgeon was Dr. Nanci at Penn. And if you don't know Dr. Nanci, he has this great dry delivery, this great sense of humor. But she asked him, could she be with her family? Is it okay if she's with her family? And he says, well, are they dirty? And she says, no, they're pretty clean. He goes, well, then, yeah, of course you can go. Another quick Dr. Nanci joke. I wanted him to just give me the biggest, ugliest scar, and they used glue and you can barely even see it. And I remember, we had some back and forth with that. But since I was where many of you are now, it's just, wow, what a different life. I got back in the pool. I started, working out more, got healthy, got into water polo, then triathlons, a couple Ironmans. My first was Ironman Lake Placid. It's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, 26.2-mile run. That was about 6 years after the donation. Took me 13 hours, 52 minutes, which is kind of the low end of average. I'm not going to win or qualify for the big Ironman, the championship in Kona, but that's not what it's about. And in Lake Placid, you finish on the speed skating oval from the 1980 Olympics. And as you come across the line, it's the coolest thing. They say your name, and the announcer is legendary in the triathlon circuit. And he says, Jim Melward, 37-year-old from Collegeville, Pennsylvania, you are an Ironman. And then he pauses and says, back in 2006, Jim donated a kidney to his aunt. And I mean, there's so many people around the finish line, and just, something like that, just amazing to hear. I've done things, a 10K swim in the Hudson River, Great Chesapeake Bay swim, which is 4.4 miles across the Chesapeake Bay. Just a reminder, I say that not so much to brag, but a reminder that life doesn't change because you're a donor. Although, it may, in my case, I guess it changed for the better. Now, different challenge for me, 2 kids, 6 and 7, 2 girls. I coach their soccer teams. I help run their swim teams, officiate meets. My aunt, same deal. She and her husband are retired. They've traveled the world. Now they're grandparents, 3 grandchildren from their 2 children. It's pretty great for me to know not only did I give her the chance to see her grandkids, but I gave her grandkids the chance to know her. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky that I get to host this event. I'm lucky they keep asking me back. I'm lucky I get to look back on these great memories. I'm lucky to meet all of you. And I hope to someday sit down with you and look back on these memories with you. And hopefully we sell you on the Transplant Games. It's just an amazing event. They frame it as a sporting event, but you don't have to be an athlete. They have everything from trivia, dancing, cornhole, darts, or just spectating. In fact, one of the biggest rushes, the best crowd response, is not from watching people win. It's watching the people who do all they can to finish, the double lung recipient swimming a race, or the young child, a heart recipient running a race. The joy of kids just on a field, regardless of athletic talent, just to be around kids who know what they're going through and are, dealing with what they're going through. The donor families, seeing them rooting for athletes, many of whom they don't know, but just seeing them cheer for someone, they get to see the gift that their loved one gave, putting it to use. So it's amazing. It's an amazing group. I'm excited that you're here, and I hope to see you face to face and get to know all of you. But enough from me. It's my pleasure now to introduce my Team Philly teammate, Nanci Woodson.
Okay, thank you. Can you see me?
We can hear you and see you, Nanci.
Okay, good. My name is Nanci Woodson. I'm a living donor recipient, and I received my first kidney from my sister, Robin Ferguson. My kidney story started in my senior year in high school, and it wasn't till 10 years later that I had to go through this rigorous journey called kidney transplant and start with dialysis. I had no information about what dialysis was. I was very scared at the process, but my nurses and my doctor explained it to me, and I was okay with the process. During that same process, we had to find a kidney donor, and I have 8 brothers and sisters, and my sister Robin was the one who was a perfect match. Thank God. There was a little hiccup when Robin was in the United States Air Force and had to ask permission to donate her kidney to me. Initially, they rejected her offer, and Robin had threatened to go AWOL. They later changed their choice and allowed her to be my kidney donor, thank goodness. And the whole process took maybe 4 months. And in March 11th of 94, I received my kidney from her. She ended up being a great match and gave me 10 years of my life that I probably would not have had she not donated to me. It was an easy choice, she says, and it was worth it. Robin is one of my older sisters, and she jokes about being still giving me her hand-me-downs. So it was quite funny. But I had the support of 8 other brothers and sisters, which I thank God for, and the rest of my family. That kidney gave me 10 years of my life. Like I said, I was able to see my son graduate from high school. Later became a grandmother of twin boys, and now I'm up to a grandmother of 6, 4 boys and 2 girls. So this has given me a great life for what Robin has done for me. We are also part of the Team Philadelphia Transplant Games. I think I've been to maybe 5 or 6 of them. Can't quite remember how many we had. And I have a large family, and we participate in many of the dash walks and runs. And I volunteer for the Gift of Life. I also volunteer for the hospital where I got my second kidney from with Christiana Care. So I'm really excited that I'm still here. Like I said, I've had 2 kidney transplants. My second one was in 2007. So I had to go through the experience of dialysis for almost 4 years before I received that. And ironically, I received the call on Robin's birthday, August 11th, for my second kidney transplant. But being at the transplant games, never athletic before, but it gave me a chance to at least pretend to be a good athlete. And we enjoyed the process. Got my first medal in Utah with pickleball when they started with pickleball that year. So Robin won the gold, I got the bronze, but it was a great experience. Loved being around all of those recipients who have gone through the same thing that I've gone through. You feel the love, you feel the support. The whole entire week was just a great experience to be with those who've been through the same thing that you've been through. It was initially a scary process, but one that I thoroughly enjoy, getting to know different people from different states and countries. And it's just been just grateful for Robin and for what she's done for me as being my organ donor. The Woodson family is not, we've got a number of kidney transplant recipients and donors. I have nephews who have received kidney transplant from their wives in South Carolina. And my brother Tracy is also a kidney recipient from another sister, Linda. So we're a family of organ donors and recipients, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So I encourage you all who have received a kidney transplant or is a living donor to look into the transplant games. It's an awesome experience to meet everyone and to encourage those who aren't donors to become donors, that there's nothing wrong with it. You can still lead a normal life and live and thrive. So thank you for this opportunity to share my story, and I will give it back to Howard.
Thanks, Nanci. And please give our regards to Robin. You should know her sister, Robin, is a veteran of the Air Force, and we want to recognize her as a veteran since tomorrow's Veterans Day, and tell her, thank her for her service, and obviously thank her for her donation.
I definitely will.
Thanks, Nanci. And thanks to my good friend, Jim Melwart. A heartfelt thanks to both of these folks for speaking tonight. Good to see you. Okay, next slide. A little bit about our community outreach. We want you to volunteer. Come out, tell your story, talk to other people about sign up on their driver's license. It's important for people to know that donation is part of life, and that we certainly need people to sign up more and more so that people are aware that donate life means giving life to others. Next slide. The driver's license registries is one way to do that. When people renew their driver's license in all 3 of our states, you can see somewhere in the order about half the people sign up, but we'd like to see more people sign up. And one of the ways to do that is encouraging people through all of our different outreach programs in schools, in colleges, in churches, etc. Next slide. So these are some of the ways to get involved. To be a volunteer ambassador is what we call people who go out and man the tables, talk to people at different events. Our Speakers Bureau, we have a training program for that, how to tell your story. Our Donor Dash, as Nanci talked about, is an annual event. It's going to be the 4th week of April in front of the Art Museum. It's our 25th anniversary. National Donate Life Month is actually April. We do a lot of social media, Facebook. We have about 65,000 followers on Facebook. We have a religious outreach. It's actually next weekend. We call it National Donor Sabbath Weekend, to get your minister and rabbi to talk from the pulpit about organ donation and about how it affects people in the congregation. Multicultural outreach in our communities, and I'll talk briefly about our family house volunteer opportunities. Next slide. So our 25th annual Donor Dash, it's a 3K walk, kids fun run, 5K, 10K runs in front of the Art Museum. It's quite an event. We get about 15 to 17,000 people to participate. You form your own team and come and have fun, whatever event you participate in. So look for that coming towards you in the forthcoming emails. Next slide. Talked about Team Philadelphia. The next event will be next year in San Diego, California. This is our team from our group the last time in Utah. And we had over, as you can see, about 150 people travel with us to participate in the Transplant Games. We also invite the living donors and our donor families who participate in various activities during the games. Next slide. So it's time for you now. One of the things we asked your transplant centers to do is to send us their thank you to you for being a living donor. So we're going to play those videos now.
Hi, living donors. We here at Jefferson Transplant Institute are so happy to be a part of today's Gifts of Life, Acts of Love, Gift of Life Living Donor Ceremony. We want to express our sincerest gratitude to all of you and to all of our living donors. Thank you so much for your selfless gift of life. Thank you.
Hello, living donors. This is Sherry Ann Broxton, medical assistant at University of Penn Transplant Center. We're sending you warm wishes and the biggest thank you for being a living donor and giving someone the second chance at life. It is so wonderful to know heroes like you. May God bless each and every one of you.
Hi, my name is Denise Hall. I'm the Living Donor Coordinator at Geisinger Medical Center. On behalf of our entire team, I would like to thank all of our living donors and their families for their selfless gifts of life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Redfield, the Surgical Director of the Living Donor Kidney Program.
Hi, I'm Dr. Landberg, the Medical Director for the Living Donor Program.
And my name is Mary Kate Wilhelm. I'm a PA with the team. We thank you for giving the gift of life. It is because of donors like you that we love our jobs and love coming to work every single day. So thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you to our living donor pairs and especially to our donors. You are true heroes during this pandemic. You've done something that's most selfless, but you've done it during the time when we've gone through uncharted waters during this pandemic. And I cannot thank you enough for providing me with the opportunity to work with all of you and for being the bright light during this time.
From all of us here at Penn State Health Milton S. Hershey Medical Center, we want to say thank you to all the living donors being honored today.
Thank you for so selflessly giving another person a second chance at life. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Houston, and I'm one of the nurse kidney living donor transplant coordinators at Penn Transplant. I'm so excited to celebrate all of the living donors here today. We are always amazed by you and your selfless act of giving the gift of life to someone in need, and we are proud to have been able to work with you on your donation journey. Thank you for giving the gift of life, and today we celebrate you.
This is the transplant team at UPMC Harrisburg. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all the living donors that gave the gift of life to our recipients for the past 2 years. Our donors rock!
When the donors come along with the strength to sign on, donors put their fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when your recipient feels alone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll see how we view you. And I'm a hero found in you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, the partners at our world-class transplant centers are unbelievable. From the transplant surgeons to the nephrologists, to the coordinators, the social workers, the dietitians, the lab techs, the assistants who make those appointments. We're really grateful for the partnership with our regional transplant centers, and thanks to them for recording these thank you messages. Next. So it comes now to honoring you. Leading up to the event, you should have received a package from Gift of Life, including a special commemorative pin like you see in front of us, and a tumbler. The pin displayed on the screen has 2 parts. If you put the pins together, they create a whole heart with the words, I gave the gift of life, representing the living donor half, and I received the gift of life to represent the recipient half. At this time, if you're watching with your living donor recipient, it's time we're going to present each other with the appropriate half of the pin and do a pinning ceremony, almost like you're at the prom. If you're not with your living donor recipient and have a family member or a friend who is with you, they can assist by putting the lapel pin on you. It is our hope at Gift of Life that you wear these pins proudly, with pride, and as a symbol of the generosity that we've witnessed today. So this is the time to do the pinning right now, all right? Congratulations, everybody, and thanks to our living donors, and best of health to both you and the transplant recipients that you helped. It really is a gift of life and an act of love. Okay, in the invitation, we requested photographs of the living donors and the recipients. From those we received, we've prepared a short photo tribute that we'd like to show right now. guys look great. Man, that's a fantastic looking group of people. I hope I get to meet you sometime. And again, thanks to our partners at the transplant centers for allowing us to help honor you, the living donors and recipients. I want to thank Jim Melward and Nanci Woodson for speaking today. I also want to thank behind the scenes Kelly Anzac and Todd Franson, who helped with the production today and getting all this laid out. So this concludes our Living Donor Recognition Ceremony and celebration for today. We hope this ceremony has provided you with a sense of how thankful our community is, in addition to those recipients and their families who you gave the gift of life. Now, you got the tumbler, right? You got to have some apple juice cider, or if you have champagne, that's good. Whatever it may be, here's a toast to all of you. If you didn't receive your tumbler yet, we'll mail it to you and make sure you get it next week. Hopefully you got it. We'll be sending you a short survey. I hope you'll fill it out and complete it so you can help plan our future events. To our recipients, best wishes for your continued health, and thank you for being here to support your living donors. And last but not least, to our living donors, not only has your decision given life to your recipient, it has brought hope to their family and friends and inspired an entire community. Your stories are helping us educate our communities about the importance of organ and tissue donation so that we can improve lives of the patients who are on the waiting list and for the lives of their families. On behalf of the staff of Gift of Life and recipients and their families and all of our hospital partners, we thank you for your courage and your generosity. Cheers! And thank you again, everyone, for attending Gifts of Life, Acts of Love. We'll see you soon. We have some more information coming up on the next slide. This is our contact information, donorsone.org. If you want to know about Transplant Games of America, tap that in, transplantgamesofamerica.org. If you want to know about the Family House, giftoflifefamilyhouse.org. If you want to reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/donorsone. To get involved, www.donorsone.org, our website /get involved. And last but not least, our Transplant Pregnancy Registry International at www.transplantpregnancyregistry.org. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening and have a happy Thanksgiving. That's why we did this now, to say thank you to our living donors. Take care, everybody.